Hello! I've been seeing on AuthorTube recently some videos about like all of the stories I've ever written, although nobody asked or something like that. I'm unprepared! It's basically going through all of the novels you've ever written. So I thought this would be a fun way to like go through my writing history and also kind of what state I'm at now. I'll be honest, I haven't completed a ton of things, so I might go into some that I've just put a lot of work into instead of actually like completed, just so there's stuff to talk about. So I have this big stack of past work story things. I would keep them in these kind of portfolio type things. I had like several projects going on at once, basically when I was in high school. So that's what a lot of these are. Let's start with the first completed work that I have with me. So this was like my mom's pride and joy when I was a child, and I'm not entirely sure why. I'm gonna cover up my name just because I don't particularly want that out there. It's called Witches, Brooms, and Hats, and I also illustrated it. I'm not sure why we had so much of this green paper when I was a kid, but I used it to doodle just because we had a huge stack of it and it wasn't really useful for anything. And there's also illustrations on the back, and then all of the illustrations of the story here. The one-page, incredibly short story here. It's about a witch who gets her hat dirty and then she tries to use a spell to clean it. So I'm actually bringing this back in a way through Itchy Witchies, which I did some work on, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to learn how to draw the last couple years, was so that I could work on this, and then also some other project, a new project called Ghoul Party, which I did talk about in a video somewhat recently. If you're interested in my like child book plans, not novel plans. Then the next one is kind of going more into actual chapter book. It has chapters, as you can see here. It's got several chapters. So it's called First Known Alien. Let me cover up my name. And you guessed it, it's about the first time we discover an alien. I did this illustration as well. It's got a coffee stain on it, which is kind of sad, but... So here's somebody puking, here's the alien. It's discovered in a jacuzzi, and this story incorporates the president, and his name is Ben. Yeah, I had fun with this. I illustrated a different cover for each of my family members and handed them out at Christmas. So this is kind of my first dive into sci-fi and chapters. Oh no. Of course we've got... This is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever written, and it's also like one of the only things I've ever shared with other people. It is called Carly's Musical. Well, I mean, I stole some art off of Google Images. When I first discovered Google Images, by the way, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool! And anyway, then I cut out different letters from, I don't know, different fonts on the internet. It was really weird. So this is what I did. Oh, I don't know if I have dates on anything, by the way. I put a date on my revisions of the first version as October 11th, 2008. So that was, I think I was a sophomore in high school. It's basically like Romeo and Juliet, but they're stoners slash punks in the high school. It is also a musical. Here, I'll share just the beginning of this one because the end of it is vulgar. I'm used, abused, all bruised up. I snooze, I lose, you win. Actions lied, I cried, you never tried to cheer me up. Think of all of the worst things you've ever heard about in high school. And it's in a book! Isn't that great? This is literally the worst thing. But it helps me discover things. I don't know. This is an older story. It's called The Maroon Mouse. And this one I wrote when I was more a child than Carly's Musical. Carly's Musical was far into teen. I actually finished it, which that was like one of the first large pieces that I actually finished. It's incredibly bad, and it's still really short. I don't tend to write very long pieces of fiction, just for your information. So I wrote The Maroon Mouse, which is a story about superheroes who are all defective. They're like genetically engineered superheroes that have a really pretty severe flaw in like their personality or something that had caused them to be like rejects when they were first created, but they found a way out, and then they're like, well, our purpose is to be superheroes, but they're just not good enough. So that was the idea. I really like this idea. I think it's been done, well, it's definitely been done, like The Tick and stuff. I think it's a pretty good example of like what this is trying to do. It also had some other characters. Like, there was this mom who just had a bunch of kids who were assassins that were specialized in different things. I do recall of the videos that I watched, like, children assassins was an important aspect of people's stories. Some of the other stories, these, maybe, I don't know, they got pretty far, but were never finished, and they didn't have a very good direction. But I'll go through those as well. I think I just grew out of them, to be honest. So I'll start with the least developed one. This one, I originally called it Slope, as you can see here. And this one was about a really bleak future where a potential chemical solution to global warming has gone awry. The chemical reaction in the atmosphere, while reducing or reversing the effects of global warming, has also caused, I guess, most humans in general to become depressed or have depression. So that's like the idea. I'm not sure how it would work, to be honest. But anyway, then there's this new drug, like a prescription drug introduced that makes people happier. It's given to the younger people, so like teens, because they have a higher chance of survival, basically to continue on the human race. And then and then it just makes them kind of numb to all of the terrible things that are happening around them. And that's kind of as far as I thought it out. So that's this story. Oh no, this isn't that story. Where's that one? That one might be on only the computer. I don't know what the name of that one was. My main character was called Polymos, though. This one also has to do with mental health. This is basically about a guy who has imaginary friends. Like, he sees and interacts with these imaginary friends. And he develops a relationship with a girl, and this girl really desires, like, a mental illness. She feels like she's not enough because she doesn't have one. And, I feel like so many of the topics that I tried to write about as a child, like, or as a teenager are, first of all, they're very teen things to write about, but I think they're also very problematic to write not well. And I obviously wasn't good enough to write anything like this, and I think it'd be very difficult to get to a point where you could write about that in a nuanced and delicate way to not fuck everything up. So basically, there is this infectious imaginary friend that ends up kind of taking his imaginary friends hostage, and then it kind of like infects the girlfriend or the romantic interest. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I think it gets really tricky, and there was never any resolution to it. This one you can see I worked a lot on. And this one is also about as cringy and as bad as Carly's Musical. This is called Lullabies, I think. Yes. So Lullabies is about a group, an organization of anarchists who are trying to uncover or to stop a government ploy to, what is it? It's like to brainwash children. Oh no, maybe it's not the government. Fuck, I can't remember. It's basically like, I think it's this like prescribed lullaby disc that is supposed to help kids with like concentration and stuff like that, and to get like good sleep and everything. But it's like ending up making these kids like act in really strange ways, and then it's like some like corporation / government conspiracy thing. You may know, based on these images, about when I went to high school. I'll just pull them up. It's so embarrassing. Yeah. So I don't think I was a scene kid. I was like a little bit. I was like scene adjacent. I definitely wasn't in the group of scene kids. I wasn't emo. I was a little bit of a punk, and in that time period, because they were kind of related, I did end up having some like scene emo crossover, I'll admit that. But I just had a fascination with like the MySpace scene kid culture, I guess, from a distance, or like the emo culture. I was like, whoa, this is weird. I want to make a league of scene kid / emo kid anarchists who bring down a government conspiracy. So yeah, I did. Oh my gosh! And this one actually had a really cool setting. I'll be fucking honest, this one's actually kind of cool. This has so many characters in it though. Let's be real. And the main character's name is Dune. That's fucking dope. I love this. I don't know how far I got in it. This is set in my hometown, by the way, so I'm just reading some of these things that are like actually places in my hometown, and like some of them don't exist anymore, so I'm like, what? This is like, if I ever complete this, this will be like me in high school's dreams coming true. So this is called The Unification, and it is about a mega rock star / pop star group, or I guess mega rock / pop group in the future on the moon, or a planet or something, and they're supported by the royal queen of that world, and it's like got a bunch of musical elements because they're a band, and it's set both in the past, like when they were on the rise, and then 5 years later when they're already washed up and they're gonna plan on having a reunion tour. And I still think that is so fun. It kind of reminds me when I read the Lunar Chronicles. I was like, this is kind of what I was going for, except like I would want a little bit more like rock and like Justin Bieber / Kurt Cobain elements in it. But when I read that, I was like, wow, I see like a way that I could approach this. And then also space opera is also kind of like this. So I'm like, oh, there's books that exist that are kind of like this. So, and then for college years, I did actually work on The Unification, which is this this big honkin' story here. I worked on that a little bit in college, but for the most part, what I worked on in college was, one, a really shitty novella about an alien pregnancy. So I completed this bad novella about an alien pregnancy when I was in college. I think it was during the summer. I wrote it in like 2 weeks, and it's really bad. I'll just say that. I tried to revise it, and then I was like, I can't. There's not enough good in it to revise. So that's probably gone forever. The other thing I wrote was, I wrote this story about like a shadow world. It's kind of like, when I saw Stranger Things, it kind of reminded me of this story, because basically they can fall into their shadow and then accidentally end up in this world. And this world is full of like demon-like creatures, and basically this girl is trying to get back to Earth and replace the demon-type creature that went on Earth. And I do like it. I think it is revisable, but I think it is like a big project to revise it, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I've somewhat tried in past years, and I think now that I have a pretty good schedule that incorporates writing, when I'm finished with what I'm writing currently, I can bring that project out for revision while I'm waiting for this project to cool off a little bit, and then I can actually get things going on it. I wrote that novel over the course of 2 different NaNoWriMos, and then for the most recent NaNoWriMo, I wrote the first half / first 3/4 maybe of a ghost story set in my own house, which was a great idea. It didn't make me afraid of this place at all. Where I started it and where I've ended up are totally different places, and I'm not sure if I'd rather continue with how I was starting versus where I am now. So I'm still not really sure how to continue on that one. Not forgotten. I still think it's kind of cool. Oh my god, there's so much more. I'm gonna run out of storage space on this camera. I also wrote a story that was about a girl who lived on the moon, or a moon colony, and the moon colony was gradually shutting off resources and support, and so she has to find a way, and it was going to be a trilogy, and I wrote basically the first book in that trilogy, and then never wrote the rest of it. And so I guess I think that one's actually like a complete thing, but I've never read the whole thing through or tried to revise it in any way. So I think that's it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this and got some insight into my writing history. Every shitty project that you work on teaches you so much about how to write, how not to write, and like what you actually want to write. So none of it is a waste of time. Like, every writer goes through this. In my opinion, every writer goes through writing a bunch of shitty stuff. Especially if you're writing as a younger person, you're probably going to age out of your ideas, and that's totally fine. And it's kind of funny to look back at it, because I still think me as a teen would fucking love those books, but I don't know if me as a 25-year-old can write that. I still think it would be fun to write like a scene kid story. I also tried to write a couple like grunge stories, but those didn't go very far, because what's the plot gonna be? Okay, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye.